गुड मॉर्निंग गाइस। पिछले वाले एपिसोड में कॉपीराइट पड़ गया है और ये ओरिजिनल स्टोरी तो है नहीं कि आप देखो, लाइक करो, सब्सक्राइब भी कर दो। हाँ, लेकिन आपको पूरी एपिसोड वगैरह देखनी है तो प्रतिलिपि ऐप पे आप जा सकते हो। यहाँ पर देखने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है। बाकी आपकी इच्छा, आपकी मर्ज़ी। तो लेट्स स्टार्ट द वीडियो।
Bree and Madhu sat together, but there was some hesitance between them to start any conversation after that simple hi. They went out of the class when it was finished. Madhu was walking towards her house, which she rented a few days ago with the help of her friends. She didn't like the college hostel and her roommates. She took an apartment with all facilities in a walking distance near the college. While passing from the park near the college, Madhu observed Bree was sitting on the bench of a park. She looked distressed and was sipping alcohol. After all that happened in the previous month, Bree was banned to drink alcohol on the college premises and was checked daily and thoroughly by the security while entering the college. Madhu thought of avoiding her, but somehow she couldn't resist and went to Bree and said, "Hi," standing before her. Breana saw her and replied, "Hi," and she looked here and there without starting a conversation. Madhu sighed and asked, "Can I sit with you?" "Sure, it's a public park. You don't need anyone's permission to sit," Bree answered rudely. Right," saying Madhu sat beside her and looked here and there. She observed Bree's driver was waiting out of the park standing near her car. She made out that she must have got the alcohol from her car. "So, everything is okay? I mean, you were fine in college and look upset now?" Madhu asked her, and Bree looked at her and looked down again. Madhu saw Bree's face, which was hiding in the pain, confusion, and anger. "I am sorry, none of my business, but you looked upset, so I couldn't resist asking you. Is there anything that I can help you with?" Madhu elaborated her previous question with Bree's expressions. Yeah, it's just that I'm avoiding some people nowadays," Bree said, taking another sip from her flask. "Okay, then I should walk away," saying Madhu got up from the bench. Suddenly, Bree held her hand. "No, please sit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's just, things are not fine with me nowadays," Bree said and paused, holding her hand and looking at her. That touch was something different for Madhu. She looked at her hand and sat back silently. She looked at Bree. Her heart felt to embrace and console her, saying, "Everything will be all right." She already knew what happened in the college and imagined what all she must have gone through with such an insult without any fault. Madhu thought she couldn't bear the avoiding nature and arrogance of her roommates, so she changed the place to stay. She could feel how Bree must have felt with all that happened. She felt angry on Joe for spreading such fake news about her. Whatever he did to take revenge was wrong. Although Madhu hated alcohol, she felt it was Bree's private life and her decision to consume it. Her thoughts were covered in her mind and unknowingly she kept her hand on Bree's hand. Bree looked at her, their eyes met. And suddenly Madhu took off her hand and said, "I'm sorry, I know what all happened to you last month. I mean, people talk and I overheard things from one mouth to another." "You also must be hating me for all that," Bree said sarcastically. "No," Madhu uttered, and there was a pause, and they both looked at each other. She continued saying, "No, I mean, why should I hate you? Ever since I came here, I see you upset many times. I feel like talking to you, but it is your private matter, so Madhu stopped talking and looked down. Bree smiled. It was the first genuine reply to hear from anybody after all that happened to her. Some people came to her with one or the other intention, and the rest all avoided her. "Thanks, but it is okay. My private life is no more private. I have become so popular nowadays, like an open book. Anybody comes and reads me in their versions of chapters." She smiled, nodding her head. She kept her wine flask inside her bag. Madhu observed that with a smile. I am here to read the true version of the book, and surely I'll give an honest review if you're interested in reviews. Madhu smiled. Bree also smiled, staring at her. Madhu couldn't look at her for long. Shyly, she pushed her long curly hair back to her ears. She was wearing a t-shirt and trousers. Breana observed her. She was calm and beautiful as a lake, and her dialogues calmed her mind as cool breeze beside a lake. Madhu gazed at Breana. She was wearing a black top and a pair of denim. Her blue eyes looked like an ocean which had millions of stories inside. On the other side, instead of her name, Breana didn't know anything about Madhu, as Madhu never mingled with anyone in the class and minded her own business. Breana felt like knowing her, and swiftly she asked, "I don't know you." Madhu was astounded hearing that. She thought alcohol endangered her memory. Bree chuckled, looking at her expressions. "Don't worry, alcohol didn't erase my memory." Madhu was again surprised, thinking, how the hell did she read my mind? After a pause of a laugh, Bree said, "What I meant was, other than your name and your A grades in class, I don't know anything about you. We are partners now. I mean, for project, so we should know each other," Bree said with pauses. "If you're asking only for a class project, then you know all that is important. My name and my grades." Madhu smiled with her mockery. Bree smiled. And are you open to making a friendship with an American girl?" she asked, smiling at her. "What makes you think that I'm not open for friendship with Americans?" Madhu asked, smiling back. "You never talk to anybody in the college unless the opposite person talks to you. You answer them in your one-liners. You walk away from the class immediately after class is over. You talk only to your Indian friends. You changed your room since you had American roommates." Bree said, all points justifying her statement, smiling at her. So you know all this about me and yet you say you don't know me?" Madhu said, smiling. "You also know many things about me," Bree said, and Madhu smiled. "I come from a traditional Indian business family. I have a big joint family, all brothers, and I am the only daughter in the home. I have done my BCA in India. Now I'm here for MS," and so on. Madhu said everything about her qualification and her family, showing pictures of her family in her mobile. Bree heard her calmly and saw pictures in her mobile. She loved her innocence and genuine nature. "Wow, your family loves you a lot. Lucky you," she said with a smile. "I heard you also have a joint family?" Madhu asked. A big American complicated family," Breana said with a satire. "That's all right. Having a family is very much important," Madhu said. "Yeah, from your perspective," Bree said. By the way, my American roommates didn't talk to me properly and there were no other rooms empty to change. So I had to shift to the apartment," Madhu said to explain her change of room. Breana smiled, nodding, and they spoke for an hour sitting on the bench and left after promising to see each other in the class the next day.